stone threshold is cold long before dawn. Its surface is rough with tiny cracks, carved by centuries of wind, while beads of moisture gather silently across the gray rock as the night begins to loosen its grip. The air is still. No birds have started calling. The horizon remains hidden behind darkness. Yet something has already changed. Long before the first ray of sunlight reaches the earth, the human body begins preparing for a new day. Deep inside the brain, invisible chemical signals start moving. Hormones shift. Cells respond. Heart rate slowly changes. Breathing follows a different rhythm. It all happens before your eyes ever see the sunrise. For thousands of years, this invisible transition has fascinated observers who believed the hours before dawn revealed something unique about human existence. Among the oldest surviving writings connected to that idea is the Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish work preserved most completely in the Ethiopian tradition and later discovered in fragmentary form among the Dead Sea Scrolls. Its descriptions of heavenly order, appointed times, and the rhythms governing creation have continued to spark debate among historians, theologians, and readers alike. For centuries, the Book of Enoch stood outside the biblical canon accepted by most Jewish and Christian communities, although it remained part of the canon of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Different religious traditions reached different conclusions about its authority, largely because of questions surrounding authorship, transmission, and theology, rather than because the manuscript disappeared completely. Yet its influence never vanished. Early Jewish communities knew its contents. Several early Christian writers referred to it, and the Epistle of Jude even quotes a passage attributed to Enoch. Then, many centuries later, fragments written in Aramaic were uncovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls near Qumran, confirming that the text circulated long before many scholars once believed. That discovery transformed academic discussion. A document many people assumed belonged only to later tradition suddenly had tangible roots in the ancient world. One section of the Book of Enoch repeatedly returns to an unusual idea. It describes creation as operating according to carefully appointed cycles. The movements of heavenly bodies are presented not as random events, but as ordered patterns established from the beginning. The text speaks of fixed times, measured seasons, and precise transitions between darkness and light. While the language reflects the worldview of its ancient authors, many readers have noticed that the emphasis falls not merely on the rising of the sun itself, but on the period immediately before it. That quiet interval appears as a moment of preparation rather than arrival. Ancient observers had no laboratories or electronic instruments, yet they paid remarkable attention to recurring natural rhythms that shaped everyday life. Modern science approaches the same hours from an entirely different direction. Researchers studying circadian biology have shown that many changes inside the human body begin well before sunrise. The brain's internal clock coordinates countless biological processes without conscious awareness. Hormone production shifts. Body temperature gradually rises. Cortisol levels begin increasing in anticipation of waking. Melatonin slowly declines. These processes occur regardless of whether someone is watching the horizon. In other words, the body begins responding before the sun actually appears. That observation does not prove the ancient writers possessed modern scientific knowledge. It does, however, show that careful observation of nature sometimes led ancient communities to describe genuine patterns using the language available to them. This is where our investigation begins. Rather than asking whether every ancient description matches modern scientific terminology, we'll examine what the Book of Enoch actually says, how its surviving manuscripts reach the present day, and why the hours before sunrise continue to attract attention from both historians and researchers. The overlap between ancient observation and modern biology does not automatically establish hidden scientific revelation, but it raises an intriguing possibility. Sometimes the oldest surviving texts preserve careful observations of the natural world that remain worthy of closer examination. The silence before dawn still surrounds that weathered stone threshold. It is still waiting, and the deeper you look into what happens before the first light reaches the earth, the more remarkable that quiet moment becomes. The first light has not yet crossed the hills, but the ancient calendar described in the Book of Enoch is already in motion. According to the text, the universe operates through appointed cycles that never drift from their assigned order. The rising and setting of heavenly bodies are presented as carefully measured events, governed by fixed laws rather than chance. The author repeatedly emphasizes precision. Days have their places. Seasons follow established boundaries. Gates of heaven open and close according to an exact sequence. To the ancient reader, this was more than a description of astronomy. It was evidence that creation itself functions according to an invisible order that can be observed, recorded, and understood. That theme appears most clearly in what scholars commonly call the astronomical book, one of the oldest sections preserved within the larger Book of Enoch. Its detailed descriptions of solar movement, lunar cycles, and changing lengths of daylight have attracted historians for generations because they reflect an unusually systematic attempt to explain time itself. When fragments of this material were discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran during the 20th century, researchers gained direct evidence that these writings circulated centuries before the beginning of the Christian era. The surviving Aramaic fragments demonstrated that the astronomical material belonged to a very old textual tradition. Although the manuscripts are incomplete, they confirmed that communities connected with the Second Temple period considered these writings important enough to preserve carefully alongside many other religious texts. That discovery changed the conversation surrounding Enoch. Instead of being viewed merely as a later composition preserved only in Ethiopia, it became clear that substantial portions had existed in ancient Judea long before many earlier assumptions suggested. Historians continue debating the exact dates of composition for different sections, but few question the antiquity of the tradition itself. One feature appears again and again throughout these passages: attention to transitions rather than destinations. The text spends remarkable effort describing movement from darkness into light, from one season into another, from one appointed time into the next. Ancient observers had no mechanical clocks capable of measuring seconds, yet they watched the horizon with extraordinary consistency. They noticed subtle changes in the stars before sunrise. They tracked the moon through predictable phases. They recorded how daylight expanded and contracted across the year. Those observations became part of a larger belief that the heavens reflected order rather than disorder. Whether every calculation matches modern astronomy is not the central issue. What matters is the determination to understand repeating natural patterns with careful observation over long periods of time. Modern chronobiology reaches a surprisingly similar conclusion about the human body, though by entirely different methods. Scientists now know that our internal biological clock anticipates sunrise instead of simply reacting to it. Specialized cells in the brain coordinate daily rhythms affecting sleep, alertness, metabolism, body temperature, and hormone release. Long before sunlight reaches your eyes, these internal systems begin preparing you for wakefulness. The body does not wait for dawn to arrive. It starts changing in expectation of dawn. That distinction is significant because it reveals that biological timing depends on deeply rooted internal mechanisms shaped by recurring environmental cycles. Ancient writers described the world in theological language. Modern researchers describe it through neuroscience and physiology. Yet both perspectives recognize that the period before sunrise represents a moment of preparation rather than sudden transformation. This does not mean the Book of Enoch secretly contains modern science written thousands of years ahead of its time. It does mean the text repeatedly directs attention toward rhythms that human beings can observe without advanced technology. Every morning, before the sky turns gold, countless processes are already unfolding beyond conscious awareness. Ancient observers noticed the regularity. Modern laboratories measure the chemistry, different methods, different vocabulary. The same quiet interval before dawn remains one of the most fascinating moments in the natural cycle of every human day, inviting a closer examination of why those ancient writers considered it so significant in the first place. The silence before sunrise carries another detail that the Book of Enoch returns to repeatedly: the relationship between order in the heavens and order within humanity. After describing the measured paths of the sun, moon, and stars, the text gradually shifts its attention from the sky to the responsibilities of those living beneath it. Nothing is presented as isolated. Every appointed time has a purpose. Every cycle reflects a larger design. To the ancient writer, the movements above the earth were not merely objects to observe, but reminders that life itself was expected to follow an established pattern. That perspective explains why the Book of Enoch spends so much time describing heavenly messengers, appointed seasons, and recorded judgments. The universe is portrayed as operating according to laws that cannot simply be ignored without consequence. Whether discussing celestial bodies or human conduct, the underlying principle remains remarkably consistent. Order produces stability, while disorder brings confusion. One of the most discussed portions of the text is the section commonly known as the Book of the Watchers. Here the narrative describes a group of heavenly beings who abandon their assigned place and interfere with the human world. The account is presented not as an isolated incident, but as the beginning of widespread corruption, affecting both society and creation itself. These beings are described as introducing forbidden knowledge that humanity was not prepared to handle. The text lists practices involving warfare, weapons, luxury, enchantments, astrology, cosmetics, and other forms of specialized knowledge. Modern readers often debate how these passages should be interpreted. Some understand them symbolically, others read them more literally. Historians generally focus on what these descriptions reveal about the beliefs and concerns of Jewish communities during the Second Temple period. Regardless of interpretation, the central message remains clear: knowledge separated from wisdom leads to disorder. The problem is not learning itself, but the misuse of knowledge without moral restraint. That theme becomes even more interesting when viewed alongside modern scientific understanding of the human brain. Neuroscientists have shown that the brain constantly balances competing systems responsible for emotion, impulse, memory, planning, and decision-making. These systems do not operate independently. They rely upon careful coordination. Sleep disruption, chronic stress, or damage to particular brain regions can disturb that balance, affecting judgment long before a person realizes something has changed. Researchers continue studying how circadian rhythms influence attention, emotional regulation, reaction time, and cognitive performance throughout the day. The hours before sunrise play an important role in resetting many of these processes. Hormonal shifts, changes in body temperature, and adjustments in neural activity prepare the brain for waking long before conscious awareness returns. Again, this does not demonstrate that the ancient author possessed modern neuroscience. Instead, it illustrates how deeply human experience has always been connected to rhythms operating beneath ordinary perception. The Book of Enoch repeatedly encourages readers to pay attention to what cannot easily be seen. It describes invisible structures governing visible reality. Modern science follows a remarkably similar habit, although through observation, experimentation, and measurement rather than theological explanation. Researchers investigate electrical signals traveling between neurons, molecular changes inside individual cells, and genetic mechanisms controlling biological clocks. None of these processes are visible to the naked eye, yet their effects shape every moment of human life. Ancient observers lacked microscopes and brain scanners, but they recognized that unseen patterns often produced visible results. That insight remains surprisingly relevant. We experience the consequences long before we understand the mechanisms behind them. As the investigation continues, an important distinction becomes necessary. The Book of Enoch should not be treated as a modern scientific textbook, nor should scientific discoveries be forced to validate every ancient statement. They belong to different worlds with different purposes. Yet when placed beside one another, they reveal something fascinating about human curiosity. Across thousands of years, people have continued asking the same fundamental questions. Why does the body begin changing before sunrise? Why do predictable rhythms govern both nature and human life? Why do unseen processes often determine visible outcomes? The ancient writer answered through sacred order. Modern laboratories answer through biological systems. Neither perspective erases the other. Instead, together they reveal that the quiet hours before dawn remain among the most carefully observed moments in the entire human experience, inviting us to look beyond what is immediately visible and consider the deeper patterns that have always been unfolding around us. As the eastern horizon slowly begins to brighten, the Book of Enoch introduces another idea that has remained at the center of discussion for centuries: the belief that every action, every word, and every decision exists within a record that is never truly lost. Throughout several sections of the text, heavenly books are described as containing detailed accounts of events, individuals, and judgments. Nothing escapes notice. The imagery is striking because it presents memory not as something fragile or temporary, but as something preserved with complete accuracy. Ancient readers understood these heavenly records as symbols of perfect knowledge and perfect justice. Every generation has interpreted these passages differently, yet the underlying message remains consistent. Human beings may forget, civilizations may collapse. Written documents may disappear beneath sand or inside caves for thousands of years. But according to the worldview presented in Enoch, truth itself remains preserved, whether people recognize it or not. That conviction explains why the text repeatedly returns to the language of books, witnesses, appointed times, and careful recording. History itself offers an unexpected parallel. Many ancient writings vanished for centuries before fragments resurfaced through archaeological discoveries. Entire civilizations were reconstructed from broken tablets weathered inscriptions, and damaged scrolls recovered from deserts, caves, and abandoned settlements. The rediscovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls demonstrated how easily important documents can disappear from public knowledge while continuing to exist physically, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. Among those discoveries were fragments of the Book of Enoch, confirming that generations of scribes had copied and preserved portions of the work, long before the medieval manuscripts that were once the primary source for its text. For historians, this was not simply another archaeological discovery. It illustrated how incomplete our understanding of the ancient world can become when surviving evidence represents only a fraction of what once existed. Every new fragment has the potential to reshape earlier conclusions, reminding researchers that history is often reconstructed piece by piece rather than recovered all at once. Modern neuroscience presents another remarkable comparison, though in an entirely different context. Human memory is far more complex than scientists once imagined. Rather than existing in a single location, memories are distributed across interconnected networks involving multiple brain regions. The hippocampus plays a crucial role in forming new memories, while long-term storage depends upon communication across the cerebral cortex. Even during sleep, the brain continues processing experiences, strengthening some connections while allowing others to fade. Researchers studying sleep and circadian biology have found that the hours before waking are especially important for the completion of several memory-related processes. Neural activity continues throughout the night, organizing information gathered during the previous day. By the time sunrise arrives, much of that invisible work has already taken place. Once again, the comparison should not be misunderstood. The Book of Enoch does not describe neurons or synapses. Instead, both ancient theology and modern neuroscience recognize that unseen processes preserve information long before their results become visible. This raises an important question for our investigation. Why did ancient writers place such extraordinary emphasis on hidden records and invisible order? Part of the answer may lie in their daily experience. They watched crops grow beneath the soil before appearing above ground. They observed seasons changing gradually, long before dramatic differences became obvious. They saw stars emerge only after darkness revealed what daylight concealed. Again and again, nature demonstrated that the most significant changes often occurred beyond immediate observation. The Book of Enoch extends that principle into the spiritual and moral dimensions of existence, arguing that reality includes layers which cannot always be measured by ordinary human senses. Modern science reaches a similar conclusion through different methods, revealing countless biological and physical processes that operate continuously without conscious awareness. From microscopic cellular repair to electrical communication inside the brain, much of human life unfolds silently beneath perception. By now, a clear pattern has begun to emerge. The Book of Enoch repeatedly directs attention towards systems that remain hidden while producing visible effects. Modern research repeatedly uncovers biological mechanisms that function beneath awareness while shaping everyday experience. The language is different, the methods are different, the purposes are different, yet both encourage careful observation instead of quick assumptions. Before the first sunlight fully reaches the earth, the brain has already adjusted its chemistry, memory continues organizing itself, and countless biological rhythms have moved quietly into their next cycle. The ancient writers saw evidence of order. Modern laboratories measure coordinated biological processes. Between those two perspectives lies one of the most fascinating conversations: connecting the ancient world with contemporary scientific investigation. And it leads directly to the final part of our search for what happens inside the human body before the day has truly begun. By the time the first edge of the sun rises above the horizon, the transformation inside the human body is already well underway. Long before conscious thought returns in full, billions of cells have responded to signals that began hours earlier. Blood pressure gradually increases. Body temperature starts climbing toward its daytime level. The lungs adjust their rhythm. The liver prepares to release stored energy. Deep within the brain, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, often described as the body's master biological clock, has already coordinated a sequence of events, timed with remarkable precision. Scientists continue investigating exactly how this tiny collection of neurons synchronizes so many independent systems throughout the body. It receives information from specialized light-sensitive cells in the eyes, yet many of its activities begin before direct sunlight actually reaches them. That is why researchers describe the human circadian system as both reactive and predictive. It responds to environmental light, while also anticipating the arrival of morning through internal biological timing established over countless daily cycles. Even after decades of research, many details of this coordination remain active areas of scientific study, demonstrating just how extraordinary the human brain truly is. When these discoveries are placed beside the Book of Enoch, an interesting comparison emerges, not because the ancient text explains neuroscience, but because it repeatedly emphasizes preparation before manifestation. Again and again, the book describes appointed moments that begin before they become visible. Gates open before heavenly bodies appear. Seasons change according to fixed order before human beings fully recognize the transition. The language belongs to ancient theology rather than laboratory science, yet the pattern encourages careful reflection. Some of the most important processes occur quietly before their results can be observed. Modern biology reaches a comparable conclusion through experiments, brain imaging, hormone measurements, and long-term clinical research. The methods differ completely, but both perspectives remind us that visible events are often the final stage of much larger invisible processes already in motion. This broader principle appears throughout nature itself. Seeds develop beneath the soil long before they break through the surface. Coral reefs grow silently beneath ocean waves for generations. Mountain ranges rise over millions of years through movements far too slow for any individual to witness directly. Human development follows the same pattern. Cells divide, tissues repair, memories consolidate, and immune responses strengthen without demanding conscious attention. Most people wake each morning unaware of the immense biological activity that has unfolded while they slept. The Book of Enoch repeatedly invites its readers to notice order beneath appearances, while modern science reveals increasingly detailed mechanisms operating beneath awareness. Neither perspective removes the value of the other. Instead, each offers a different way of recognizing that reality often extends beyond immediate observation. For historians, the enduring influence of the Book of Enoch also demonstrates another important truth. Ancient texts continue shaping discussion long after the societies that produced them have disappeared. Scholars still analyze its language, compare surviving manuscripts, examine its relationship to other Second Temple writings, and investigate its influence on later Jewish and Christian thought. Archaeologists continue studying the cultural environment in which its earliest sections were composed. Linguists compare Aramaic, Greek, Ge'ez, and other textual traditions to better understand how the work evolved over centuries of transmission. Every new fragment, every improved translation, and every fresh archaeological discovery adds another small piece to a much larger historical puzzle. The process is slow, careful, and often incomplete. But that is precisely how responsible historical research advances. It does not depend upon sensational discoveries alone. It depends upon patient examination of evidence gathered across generations. As our investigation approaches its conclusion, the central observation becomes surprisingly simple. The Book of Enoch consistently directs attention toward hidden order operating beneath visible reality. Modern neuroscience reveals a brain whose most important preparations for waking occur before sunrise ever reaches the landscape. Circadian biology continues uncovering remarkable complexity inside a structure no larger than a grain of rice. While ancient writers expressed similar admiration for invisible order through the language available in their own time, the connection is not one of identical knowledge but of shared observation. The most significant changes often begin before human eyes can detect them. Every dawn quietly confirms that principle. Before the sky turns gold, before the birds begin singing, before the world appears fully awake, the human body has already begun its remarkable transition into a new day. That silent transformation remains one of the most extraordinary natural processes we experience, reminding us that the deepest rhythms of life often unfold long before the first light announces their arrival. The weathered stone threshold where our investigation began is no different now than it was thousands of years ago. It still collects the cool moisture of the night. It still faces the eastern horizon in complete silence. Every morning, long before sunlight washes across its rough surface, the same invisible transition begins inside every human body. The Book of Enoch closes many of its major themes by returning to order, an order that exists whether people choose to notice it or not. The heavens continue their appointed courses. Time continues moving through fixed cycles. Human life continues unfolding within rhythms that are far older than any civilization. That persistent emphasis explains why the text has continued attracting readers from generation to generation. It does not merely describe extraordinary beings or heavenly visions. It repeatedly directs attention toward patterns that remain constant, inviting careful observation of a world that appears ordinary while operating through astonishing complexity beneath the surface. Modern science reaches a similar destination by following an entirely different path. Researchers investigating circadian biology, sleep medicine, endocrinology, and neuroscience continue uncovering layers of coordination that earlier generations could scarcely imagine. The brain does not simply wake when sunlight appears. Instead, it prepares for morning through an intricate network of biological signals, timed with remarkable precision. Hormones fluctuate according to predictable schedules. Gene activity rises and falls throughout the day. Individual organs communicate through chemical messengers, ensuring that countless physiological systems remain synchronized. Even slight disruptions to these rhythms can influence sleep quality, metabolism, emotional regulation, memory, cardiovascular health, and immune function. Every new discovery reminds scientists that the human body operates less like an isolated collection of organs and more like a perfectly coordinated orchestra, where timing is often just as important as the individual instruments themselves. Although many mechanisms are now understood in far greater detail than ever before, researchers readily acknowledge that important questions remain unanswered. The full complexity of how biological timing integrates every aspect of human physiology is still an active field of investigation. For historians, The continuing study of the Book of Enoch follows a comparable pattern of gradual discovery. Archaeologists continue examining the historical world that produced its earliest traditions. Linguists compare surviving manuscripts across multiple languages to reconstruct earlier textual forms. Scholars debate dates of composition, literary development, theological influences, and cultural context using evidence accumulated through decades of careful research. The work remains valuable not because every reader reaches identical conclusions, but because it preserves an important window into the religious thought of the Second Temple period. Its survival through Ethiopian manuscripts, combined with the discovery of Aramaic fragments among the Dead Sea Scrolls, has ensured that it remains part of serious historical discussion rather than fading into obscurity. Each generation returns to the text with new questions, new analytical methods, and new archaeological evidence, continuing a conversation that has lasted for centuries. Perhaps that is the most remarkable lesson of all. Ancient observers watched the heavens with extraordinary patience because they believed repeated patterns revealed deeper truths about creation. Modern researchers study neurons, hormones, genetics, and biological clocks with the same patience, guided by careful observation rather than assumption. The tools have changed beyond recognition, yet the underlying curiosity remains strikingly familiar. Human beings continue searching for order beneath appearances. We continue asking why invisible processes produce visible results. We continue discovering that the most important transitions often begin quietly, long before they announce themselves to the world. Whether viewed through ancient writings or contemporary laboratories, the hours before sunrise remain one of the most fascinating periods in every 24-hour cycle. They remind us that preparation frequently matters more than appearance, and that reality often begins changing before our senses recognize the change. What, then, does the Book of Enoch ultimately reveal about the one body part science continues exploring before sunrise? Not that it contains hidden neuroscience, centuries ahead of its time, nor that it replaces modern research with ancient explanation. Instead, it reminds us of something both timeless and profoundly human. Careful observation has always been the beginning of understanding. Ancient writers noticed patterns in nature and expressed them through the language of their faith. Modern scientists investigate those same patterns through experimentation, measurement, and evidence. Together, they point toward the same enduring truth, that much of life unfolds beyond immediate perception, quietly shaping every new day before we are fully aware of it. And so we return to that stone threshold, standing silently in the darkness before dawn. It is still there, still gathering the night's cool moisture, still facing the first light of morning. And every day, exactly as generations of observers have witnessed for centuries, the hidden rhythms of the human body begin their work before the sunrise ever reaches the horizon.